They're making it harder than ever to retire. It's the weirdest thing, man. It is odd to me. I have a sneaky reason why they're doing this, but I don't get it, man. Everyone, their mom is, no, retirement, it's a retirement crisis. Blah, 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 blah. And I think ultimately what it is when you leave your petty state check and you declare independence, it's harder to control you when you're independent. There's just no other way around it. It's harder to enforce DEI, ESG, jabbies on you when you're independent. It's harder to rein you in, man. There's no other way around that. It's easier to control you when you're doing the 9 to 5 petty state check game. I'm telling you, I was there. You're there. You got to get up in the morning, get your outfit on, shower, iron your clothes, eat, get on your commute, come back and you're using an hour each way, half hour each way, just time wasted sitting in your car, sitting on your butt, probably eating some snacks, going to Starbucks, and all that stuff, dude. And my man CB said on last night's live stream that he retired, and since he's retired, he's lost 30 pounds. His wife is Filipino. They live in Michigan, so they go back and forth to Michigan and Philippines. He's lost 30 pounds. He's freaking crushing, dude. He feels great. He's invigorated. He's just kicking ass and taking names, man. I've had that. If I've heard that once, I've heard it a million times. It's weird. When I retired, I thought I'd be bored, or I thought I'd be, I don't know. I thought I wouldn't have anything to do. I've actually lost weight. I've been invigorated. I feel better than I felt in 20 years. I just feel great. Yeah, 100%. And I think the Kabbalists that control the world, they know that, and they want to keep you in fear, so you don't do that. You don't separate yourself from what they're trying to do. Now, sadly, the very few will do this. Most people wait essentially until it's too late, man. They'll say, I guess I can retire now, and then they retire without actually thinking that they could, and sometimes it can be too late. A lot of these people die too soon, frankly, because they waited too long and their health deteriorated. Working in a steady paycheck or petty state check does deteriorate your wealth for a lot of people. And not everybody, but a lot of people it does. And they keep doing it because they're so afraid. Oh my goodness, what about this? I get it, dude, 100%. There is risks in life. There's risk to walking out the street. Anyway, so JP Morgan has this, and I love the JP Morgan guy to retirement. Big fan, long time. I don't like J.P. Morgan as a company. I don't like him as a man. There's a Jamie Dimon. Can't stand that guy. And they're all kinds. But this is a good piece here. The 4% rule, projected outcomes versus historical experience. Good in theory, poor in practice. All right. The 4% rule is the maximum withdrawal percentage that has a high likelihood of not running out of money over 30 years. With current life expectancies, a 35-year view is more appropriate. A 30, what? Based on what, JP Morgan? Where's that coming from? You're just pulling out of your butt. Where's a 35-year rule more appropriate? Concurrent life expectancies. Even without, it's insanity, man. Even without what happened, the life expectancies are going down, man. That's all there is to it. Will that continue? I don't know. But they're certainly not going up. They're certainly not going up enough to justify changing your retirement expectations from 30 to 35 years. There's no evidence of that at all. I don't care what Rick Edelman says. They're all going to live to 120. That's just dumb, man. I'm sorry. It is a stupid thing to say. There's no evidence of this whatsoever. But Josh, don't you know, we have more and more people living until 100. Yeah, because we have more and more people. The country when I was born only had I was born in 1970, only had 225 million people. Now, and the bulk of those were youngins. You know what I'm saying? Now we have 330 million people. The bulk of those are older. It's a shift in the population. So you have more old people. More old people are going to survive until they're 80, 90 years old. That's just a fact. But as a percentage-wise, it's actually going down the life expectancy, man. You can attribute that to COVID. I don't care what you attribute it to. But it's certainly not going to where you're going to have a 35-year life expectancy is the norm. It's just not there. There's no evidence of this, man. I don't understand. Now, if you want to do child life expectancy at birth versus life expectancy for a 65-year-old person, okay, you can do that, but you're not a baby right now, so who cares? So stupid. I hate it. Anyway, so here we got the historic. We got two different things here. We got the We're going to look at this one first. We got historical ending wealth at 4%. All right. So historically, with 66 rolling 20-year, 30-year periods, and the historical one right here is we're going to use a 40-60 S&P 500, 40%, and 60% Bloomberg bond index. Does the Bloomberg bond index go back to 1928? No, it does not. So what are the bonds for the returns based on? Right, that's the challenge that a lot of people don't recognize, that we don't have good data to show what bonds did. But I will go with it. It's just fine. But at the end of the day, they're going to use a Bloomberg bond index for 60% of the portfolio, 60% of the portfolio, and the S&P 500 for 40%. All right. Then what we're going to do? We have $1 million. We're going to take out 4% a year, and then we're going to increase it by CPI each and every year. Which, again, if you read my book, you realize, well, that's stupid. Don't use CPI for your retirement projections. It's dumb, man. CPI has nothing to do with you. Why? Because this thing called owners occupied, owners equivalent rent, and then rental as a fact as a whole. Basically, 40% of CPI is attributed to renting of some kind. And again, that's right here in the first chapter. What if everybody's wrong about retirement? Stupid. All right, so then you say over 66 30-year rolling periods, which isn't statistically relevant anyway, as I say all the time, because years, one rolling year period, 2-year rolling year periods have a 99 or 97% correlation, because year 1 through year 30 matches year 2 for the year 31 with a 95 or 98, I can't remember, correlation. It's just not statistically relevant. It's the same data set, just used in little different chunks, but it's not relevant. But anyway, we'll use it because that's what they did. They said you had a 30-year rolling period. If you had $1 million, you took 4% a year out, adjusted with CPI, 85% of the time you had more than $0. 65% of the time you had more than what you started with. 40% of the time you had more than $2 million. All right. Again, it's another problem with this assumption is it assumes your spending goes up each and every year with CPI, or each and every year anyway. And that's just, there's no evidence of that either. The evidence that does not exist for any of this stuff is crazy. For a life expectancy of 35 years, for your spending habits to go up each and every year with some sort of inflation, there is no evidence of that stuff. None. All right, but be that as it may. So then they're going to use this dynamic one where they say, the left chart here, the hypothetical portfolio assumes all country world equity and U.S. aggregate bonds. So they're using a 40-60 stocks all country. That's, international, emerging markets, and U.S. with a 60% U.S. bonds. I don't know why you don't use U.S. bonds there, but be that as it may. And they're using based on their capital market expectations, which are quite low. And actually, my preference is this kind of chart than theirs. And you can see here at $1 million with their low capital market expectations, they're saying with 35 years, because again, we're looking for 35 years, okay, that you would have had a little bit more than about $450,000 at death over 35 years. If you only took 4% a year out and adjusted your spending with a 2.5% inflation. All right. I mean, that's better than a CPI, but again, show me the evidence that happens. There isn't any. On the other hand, if you took 5%, this is what made me very comfortable, very confident. If you took 5% out, your money would have lasted until you were about 28 years old. Again, assuming that your spending goes up each and every year with 2.5% inflation. That's, for me, I'm like, that's good. Because I always say use 5%, just 5%, dude. 5%. Take 5% of your portfolio every year and be done with it. And even they got you as spending increases with inflation at 2.5 and using their capital market assumptions, which are low in terms of the rates of return, their expected rates of return, well below historical numbers. Here, even at 6%, they got you last about 21 years or so. Now, I wouldn't guide, say 6%, but 5% is fine. And even with their low assumptions on capital markets, their expected rates of return, and a 2.5% inflation adjustment each and every year, which there is no evidence that, even that, they still got your money lasting 28 years or so. That's pretty comforting to me, because you're not most likely going to be around 28 years. You're certainly not going to be around 35 years. But my grandma is. Yeah, okay, I get it. There's always an exception to the rule. The vast majority of us are not going to survive until we're 100 years old. Just not going to happen. And, well, maybe it will happen if you're like my man CB. You quit your crappy old job, you free yourself from the petty state check, and you get independent. Now your health is reinvigorated. I'm sure his wife is like, CB, give me some space. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying, man. You know what I'm saying? The wife's like, yeah, give me some space. All right, love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget my book available. Buy it now. Don't be a sucker, not buy it. If you like these videos, they help you, buy me a cup of coffee. Links in the show notes. We'll see you guys.